Hi, Jordan from the quality team here, just looking at ways in which that you can track learners' progress. Now, depending on which department that you'll go in, you might see a different type of tracker that's used in order to identify what learners have completed throughout their time at R&N Group. This is just a generic example of one. Like I said, some other awarding bodies might ask for certain other things. Some other departments might work slightly differently. But this is probably the closest to a generic tracker that's available. There is other software that other people might use as well, such as Markbook. Some others might use awarding bodies tracking documentations and tracking platforms, and apprentices may use OneFile, for example, to track the learner's progress. But ultimately, this is one element in way that this can be completed. Another way that we do it is we complete the KSB reviews, KSB assessments in regards to knowledge, skills and behaviours, and looking at the development from that aspect. But this one just solely focuses on the completion of grading criteria and learning outcomes that have been achieved. It is a requirement to make sure that we are tracking this to ensure that learners are likely to progress at the end of the academic year. What we do have is we have A2A meetings, which is attend to achieve meetings, and therefore your CTLs or your curriculum team leaders to have meetings with the senior management team and the SLT team as well. So the reason for that is to actually say, identify these learners, this is how they're progressing and this is how they're getting on, are they likely to achieve? Because ultimately all learners that should complete a course should achieve the qualification. So it's identifying any learners that are at risk, and then producing action plans and making sure that they're in place in order to help them to achieve. But generally, like I said before, this is just a bit of an overview. So where this department's actually broke it down, if you have a look at the bottom sections here, we've got the different units that this course that they complete, and they've got the learning outcomes as well and what they've achieved. Now, with this awarding body, for example, as you can see at the top, it's got different learning outcome numbers, and they have different grading criteria on them. So, for example, 1.1, you can achieve either a pass or a merit. 1.2, pass or a merit. And you get to 1.3, you can either achieve a pass, merit, or distinction. And some of the learners within this, as you can see, some of the grades, some learners have achieved the merit, some have achieved the pass, some have achieved the distinction. But ultimately, what we need to do is like we said before, is just keep on top of this to ensure that we can track the progress that's been made. So like I said, it's a very simple documentation or document. What you've got at the top left-hand corner is the units, the learning outcomes that need to be achieved, the grading criteria per learning outcome. You've got the planned date. So for example, as you can see, 1.1 and 1.5 are connected together. So that might be an assignment for the learners to complete, and they're all bunched in together. And the planned date to complete that was the 25th of November. And the completion date was actually the 25th of November. And again, the reason why we put planned dates in is to give a bit of an overview as to this is what I've planned in to ensure that we meet all the requirements of the qualification, all the criterias. It's planned holistically, and it's planned in a way that incorporates the different other units in order to ensure that these learners have got a decent time in order to complete certain learning outcomes. So they're not feeling a little bit too anxious about it all because they've got too much on the plate at one time. It's sequenced out in a way that over 36 weeks or 30 weeks, or if it's a part-time course, however many weeks, that will get all the learning outcomes achieved and the grades achieved as well. Again, if you've got dates where they weren't similar, so as you can see here, the third assignment section, it's a couple of weeks after the event. It gives you the opportunity to put learner comments on their Pro Monitor, action plan learners, give them new targets and new requirements in order to achieve, and then if necessary, taking disciplinary action to get them where you need them to be, or to get themselves where they need to be. Now, down the left-hand side would have the learners' names, but for GDPR purposes, we've taken them out. And as it's got a bit of a colour code as well at the bottom, as you can see, just there. So the green is pretty much a RAG rated system. So green, criteria is completed. N, they've not submitted any piece of work to achieve that learning outcome, or an R, which is referral, which they've handed something in, but it doesn't quite meet the requirements yet. And as you can see, the yellow aspect of the learners that have been selected for internal verification, which makes sure that basically what we're marking is correct. So when you are marking work, it's imperative that it does get checked, or a percentage will get checked, in order to ensure that we are still meeting the awarding body requirements and we're still meeting the level requirements as well. And there will be another video on this in regards to giving a bit more detail as to what is expected, turnaround times, and feedback and sample sizes as well. So as you can see down the right hand side of the column, this unit's been completed, the overall grades have been achieved. And it's similar throughout the other courses as well. But you can see the only difference is that there's no planned and actual dates on, so that would be the recommendation for these units. But ultimately what you want it to do is to feed into an overall grade at the end on this tracker. So this is an overall tracker grade. As you can see, this group's got one unit left to complete. Now the GLH is guided learning hours. So it gives you a rough, it gives you an awarding body time of how many guided learning hours should be spent on a particular unit. You may want to work with your curriculum team leaders or course leaders to ensure that that's met as well. Down on this left hand side here, you've got a tag grade, which is a target grade. So what should happen at the beginning of the academic year is they should calculate all the qualifications that a learner's achieved. It should add to points and then should add to the level. And depending on how many points that learner gets, we'll then provide them with a tag grade. So for example, here, this one, looking at the grades they've achieved and looking at their prior learning, we might put them down as a tag grade for a distinction. And then you might have some other learners that are might be down for a pass and achieving higher grades. So they're getting a merit, so they're going above their tag grade, which is excellent. Or you might get some that are working lower than their predicted tag grade. So again, it's what support can we put in place? What's the reason? Why is that the case? And how can we support? But like I said, generally, what we should be doing within the roles is making sure that we are marking the work timely, and then we're updating any trackers to ensure that we can monitor the learner's progress. This needs to be done little and often. Okay, you don't want to be in a position where you are basically leaving it till the end of the academic year, because we need to monitor where they're at throughout the academic year. So this is a tracker. Please make sure that when you liaise with your curriculum team leaders, that you have those conversations and identify where that is and how to complete it in your particular area. So that is a general view on a tracker.